Hello and welcome to another episode of Bodyslams and Dropkicks. I'm joined by my co-host Dean, and tonight we're going to be talking about Clash of Champions.
Good evening, everyone, if you're from Canada, good morning. It is good morning, isn't it? Or is it just good afternoon? It's one or the other.
In BC, it's like 11:27,
So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, literally.
and like 2 o'clock in Ontario. So we're covering all the bases.
Yep, we definitely do. I definitely do when I do my final cut. Right. So on the docket today, we have it's Clash of Champions in a few hours. So very quickly, we'd just like to get our predictions in for who we think should who should win the belts because basically it's Clash of Champions, which means every belt's on the line. But whether we agree with what happens or not is a different story. But we will cover that tomorrow night, which will be the Monday. So I really want to start this one off. It's the World Women's Championship match between the champion Oscar and the challenger Zelina Vega. Now, can I just say, I have wanted this for Zelina for so many years. I am so glad she's in this. Everything of me is behind her 100%, but the bottom line is I don't think she'll win it because it will go entirely on Oscar, and she's only just got the belt back, so she's not going to lose it after about a month. Because that would be veering into Sasha Banks territory, which I think is a bit wrong.
I think Asuka's going to retain. If anything, I see her going over with a more dominant reign like she did on NXT up until Becky Lynch comes back for that fated rematch. But I would like to see them build more stars up if Asuka manages to lose the belt, but I just don't see it happening here, so I'm going to give it to Asuka.
Yeah. So we've unanimously agreed it'll be Oscar, but I personally would like Zelina to win, but I don't think that's going to happen. Excuse me. Right then, this is probably the easiest one I'm probably going to have in my prediction career. It's the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match between the champions Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura versus the Lucha House Party. I'll just keep mine simple. Cesaro and Nakamura will just obliterate them into the middle of next week.
I think Nakamura and Cesaro will retain. It's been really entertaining what they've been doing with them and the Street Profits, and I don't want to see them lose the belts anytime soon because I feel like there's so much potential with that feud.
We've covered that one quite quickly, haven't we?
And I love Nakamura and Cesaro, so.
And no offense, but if I was going to get a team to beat Cesaro, I never say Cesaro, I meant Cesaro, I can't pronounce it properly. Cesaro and Shinsuke, it would be a team like the New Day or the Usos or even someone like Street Profits. But Lucha House Party will never be tag team champions. I really don't think that will ever happen. So, with that being said, the United States Championship match between Bobby Lashley and Apollo Crews. And I will probably make this just as quick as I did the last one. Lashley will retain no matter what.
I think we got to analyze here. Apollo Crews has the speed, the strength. He's a I can't say phenomenal because like AJ Styles would be like breaking my door down.
He's a phenomenally good wrestler. We'll leave it at that.
I just don't see Bobby Lashley going down anytime soon. He's got the size, he's got the power. His spear is like almost there with Roman Reigns when taking out people. I think this is going to be a good back and forth, but I think with the Hurt Business just picking up, they're not going to be dropping any gold anytime soon.
Yeah, plus you'll have at least one or two of the Hurt Business at ringside. So for Apollo to get the title, it would literally weaken the Hurt Business to within a point of why is Apollo the champion? Why did they not do something? All right, the Raw Tag Team Championship match between Street Profits, the champions, and Apollo Crews. Oh, sorry, not Apollo Crews, sorry, because they all got the same letter. It's even worse than the F1 grid next year. Andrade and Angel Garza. Would I like to see Andrade and Garza win? I would. Do I think they'll win? No. I really don't think they will. Plus, they're missing Zelina Vega. I don't know what's gone on there. I probably missed about 15 minutes of Raw one week, but you know for a fact that anyone who's been watching Andrade's career in WWE, like I have, will know that Zelina Vega basically turned him from a mid-carder into a NXT champion. So basically, she was responsible for his push, regardless of politics. That's how they made it plan out. So I think with her gone, that leaves Andrade and Angel at a severe disadvantage.
You know what's weird about the Street Profits? I kind of feel like they're more like a modern version of Crime Time, like with the
Hmm.
antics that they're doing and
Yeah.
crashing people's like private locker rooms and stuff.
Hmm. But no one can never replace Shad and JTG. Never.
No, no,
Never.
they were way too entertaining, and they are definitely a team that should have won the gold.
Hmm.
But with everything that's been going on with the Street Profits, like we were saying earlier with Cesaro and Nakamura, I don't see them dropping the gold. I see eventually if they have like the draft
Hmm.
or they put like an emphasis on tag teams, I could see those two teams leading the charge. So I think the Street Profits are going to retain here, and then we're going to see some more building between the different tag team champions. I would love to see the NXT champs get inserted in that too, but
Hmm.
I see the Street Profits walking out with the belts with a bit of ease tonight.
Again, we're quite for a change. We're actually quite we're agreeing with each other quite much. Although we might differ now because of the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Sorry, which is the Unstoppable and the Submission Specialist Shayna Baszler versus Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott, also known as the Riott Squad. Truthfully, I would love to see Liv and Ruby win the titles, but I think it's going to take probably say a Becky and a Charlotte to take those titles off Nia and Shayna. I mean, no offense, but Shayna Baszler made Banks and Bayley tap out. One person made both of them tap out, so I don't think I don't think the squad's going to do it. I think Nia and Shayna will retain. However, there is there is two women out there who can beat them, but I don't think. I think it'll have to be someone like a team like say Becky or Charlotte, or maybe even a Beth Phoenix and a Natty. Maybe I don't know, but I don't think they'll win this time.
Nia Jax and Baszler, they have the size, power, the submission skills, which makes them a
And the
really
mindset.
the mindset, which makes them a really good fortified team.
Hmm. But yeah, so yeah,
But
yeah,
I love the Riot Squad. The Riot Squad's got the heart, the attitude. Like they'll step up to the game no matter what. And I've always loved that David and Goliath
yeah.
type of
I have.
storyline that you can't help but just root for them for the Riot Squad to finally pull off that big win and get those tag titles because those two teams have the best advantage of rebuilding the women's tag team division, and
Yeah,
I love Ruby Riot, so like I'm back in the Riot Squad. I'm
yeah.
always gonna back the underdog when it comes to it.
Yeah, I mean, Ruby has gone. I will admit, Ruby is deserved a title of some sort because she did go through a really bad patch of losing. What was it? She lost. What was it for 18 months straight, near enough?
She's had
Was
some of the best matches too in the
mm,
women's division. Like since a lot of people had to back off due to COVID or injury,
yeah.
she's like been there. Like you could count on her to give you like that match of the night.
We'll do the SmackDown Women's Championship match, but I've just had a notification that says that Nikki Cross has been removed from Clash of Champions. But we'll go ahead regardless because we don't really know
Really,
what's going on. Yeah, I've just had a notification on my YouTube. So for the Women's Championship, we'll just play on as if it is Nikki Cross versus Bayley. Um, I still think Bayley will retain and Bayley will lose it when Sasha comes back. I still think that.
I think Nikki could pull off the win here and possibly have it while she's trying to save Alexa Bliss and it becoming like an all-out war for the belt on
Yeah.
top of the soul of her best friend. I like them see them go a bit theatrical for this, like in the WB 2K game. Spoiler when they go into like the Undertaker's world and there's like that twisted arena and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of would love a little more like theatrical like that for like
Yeah.
her going in to try and save Alexa Bliss, really grow out that legend of the Fiend. But if she is being removed right now, I think this would be an interesting time to go over who we think would replace her in this match.
Yeah. Like I said, I've only just found this out about 2 minutes ago. I don't know who the replacement is, but it'd be interesting to see who they would put. I mean, I really think they're building up Alexa Bliss as a female Fiend, so I wouldn't put her in it. Would I put Lacey in it? Maybe. I'd love to see Naomi in it, because she's not really had that much, and everyone who's a wrestling fan and has a wrestling brain knows she should do better, or she should be treated as better. So I'd like to see Naomi in it.
I actually kind of would like to see Io Shirai in it because she's been doing great on NXT, and this would give us another it would give us like the champion versus champions
champion,
within Clash of Champions.
It would be nice, but then again, who knows what goes on in the WWE creative mind? So regardless, so me personally, whoever they pick as Nikki Cross's replacement, I will happily say that Bayley will still retain, regardless of whether it's Nikki or if it's Lacey, Naomi, Alexa, which I don't think it will be.
I think Bayley's going over up until Sasha gets back, but
Yeah,
I would love to see them go international like title defenses with her, bring in some of the big names around the world to have like Bayley clash with them. Like the old school WF days when like Hogan and all of them would like go and take on like top stars from like Japan, Mexico, all over the world.
So we'll just have to wait and see about that one. We'll be doing a results show tomorrow, so hopefully we'll know a bit more about what's actually going on with the SmackDown Women's Title match. But anyway, we must move on. As life, we must move on. The Intercontinental Championship match between Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, and Jeff Hardy, the champion.
Do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
You can start if you want, because I have so much to say about this, but I want you to get your bit out first.
All right, we'll analyze all three competitors here.
Right.
Jeff Hardy, massively loved by the fans, possibly one of the greatest high flyers to ever grace the ring. He has built his name on the Intercontinental Championship for a number of years before he finally got to win like the WB title, the world title. He is no stranger to ladder matches, especially from his tag team days, TLC, table ladders, for the table ladders, chairs, ladder matches, table matches. This is like his ballpark. So in a lot of ways, Jeff Hardy would have the advantage going into this. Now, Sami Zayn has had a really rocky career in the WWE. His extremely short NXT title reign, his flip-flopping to backing people on the roster, finally picks up the Intercontinental Championship. Then COVID hits, and then Sami's gone for a while, and then coming back. He's mostly been a hype man up until this point of winning the Intercontinental Championship, and this is the most relevant he's been in WWE for the longest time. If he doesn't win here tonight, like, he could still argue that I wasn't pinned, I wasn't submitted, that AJ Styles getting involved was uncalled for. So they basically could kind of make fun of the stuff like that champions say when they lose the belt, or even as the fans when we're arguing about our favorite wrestlers, like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. They can make a trope of it and having Sami Zayn do like these like ad campaigns about it, being like, I was robbed, and like the dramatic reenactments and everything.
Kind of like what Kevin Owens and him did against Shane McMahon that time.
Yeah, exactly like that. Like, I feel like there's so much ground to be covered. And if The Miz wasn't involved with a storyline, I could see The Miz having them on Miz TV and Sami Zayn being like this emotional mess about it. But if he doesn't win here tonight after coming back, it kind of just proves about his claims of the Intercontinental. It doesn't help him at all. It basically builds the case that you are not the real Intercontinental Champion since I came in here and showed you what it takes to be the champion. Now we get the AJ Styles. He's been United States champion. He's had 2 WB title reigns. He's been Intercontinental Champion as well.
He's been WWE champion for nearly a year as well.
That too. AJ's had some of the best matches in the WB since showing up, from Roman Reigns, the Shane McMahon, the Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, he was actually the first man to win the WWE title in a foreign country. I think it was like 17 years, I think it was. It's not very often that happens.
He's also a former 2-time IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and that's not an easy belt to get, especially if you're not from Japan. Like, that speaks volumes about your talent.
He's won just about every belt in TNA/Impact, to be honest, which we can't actually vouch for because well, I don't know if you did watch TNA back in the day. I did. I absolutely loved AJ. And to be fair, he's had some of the toughest opposition that basically, well, I've ever seen in a company. I mean, you've obviously had like Kevin Nash, Sting, Samoa Joe, Chris Daniels, Kazarian. God, the list is endless.
He's been ROH Pure Champion, ROH World Tag Team Champion. So AJ's no stranger to like the big matchups when it comes to the gold, and he's got some of the best moves: the spiral tap, that phenomenal forearm, the Styles Clash, the calf killer,
yeah. Calf crusher. Oh God, yeah. Have you got anything else, or am I alright to have my little say?
Oh no, I'm getting there. I'm just doing all the analyzing here.
Yeah, it's alright.
So,
it's alright.
We got like the Hulula kick versus the Swanton Twist of Fate. We got AJ has more moves than like most guys have like big match moments. So going into this could potentially be the best ladder match like ever. So I think when it comes down to it, I'm going to give it to Jeff Hardy. With the long road of building up, of facing mental health and addiction, and overcoming that to become who he feels he needs to be. Him winning the Intercontinental Champion, like retaining, and not losing it, like to either of these men, will cement Hardy as the redemption story for a lot of people. That this is where I was, and I almost fell to my inner demons, but I came back and became a champion. I overcame both naysayers who counted me out, some of the best talent around the world, and I am still sitting here as your champion. And I think that could be inspirational for a lot of people who have struggled with similar things, especially since Hardy has 2 little girls at home. I feel like that's inspirational in so many ways. So I love Jeff Hardy. So I love AJ. So this is like tearing me apart.
Hard, isn't it? Yeah.
So I have to give it the Jeff Hardy because from a narrative point of view, it would be the perfect way to end this, depending who he's going to feud with next. And I feel like Sami Zayn really needs the win, but I think Jeff Hardy's story just overcomes it all.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you my short version because I've always been a fan of the short version. I don't think Sami will get the win, but I think if he's not at least screwed out of it in some way or another, I think we could potentially see the end of Sami Zayn's SmackDown career, if not his WWE career. It's not nice to think about, but there's always that possibility.
I can see it building to kind of a loser leaves match type thing.
Yeah.
And Zayn getting busted down the NXT and them doing like the story of him doing everything to get back onto the main roster.
Kind of like what Finn Balor's doing, because he's basically had no luck whatsoever. He's in NXT now. Look what's happened to him. But yeah, I was going to say I am more of an AJ Styles fan than a Jeff Hardy fan. But I think Jeff needs to win more than AJ does, because AJ has literally near enough done everything. The only thing he hasn't done in WWE is win the Royal Rumble and get money in and be a Money in the Bank winner. This year doesn't count because he got screwed out of it. But is it career
and both tag titles?
Yeah, both tag titles as well. But is it career suicide for AJ to lose this match? No, it's not. He's still got star pull. This is AJ Styles we're talking about. The guy who would be world champion no matter where he went. He could go to a wrestling promotion in India and he could lift the entire place up. So I don't think if Styles loses, it will hurt him. If Jeff Hardy loses, it may hurt him. If Jeff wins, it would probably be better for the story. And like I'm gonna say, like you said, you've actually made some very convincing points about why he should win it. So I think if Jeff does win, I think that would personally be the best. Well, if I may quote a Vincent Kennedy McMahon, that is what I think is best for business. But if Sammy does lose this for whatever reason, I I don't think his SmackDown career is dead, but I think in the upcoming draft he should move to NXT just to get his career back on track. I love him as a heel, but it just seems like he's always got a roadblock in whatever, no matter what he does. I mean, like I said, he was Intercontinental Champion. COVID hit, he stayed home, which was big respect to him for doing that. Same with Roman, big respect to him for doing that. But it's just like the guy can't get any luck. So I think what he might need to do is go back to his WWE roots of NXT, like Finn Balor's done. I mean, Finn Balor's champion. Who's to say that can't happen for Sammy?
It could be really good for Sami Zayn because, like, even Tyson Kidd, when he went back to NXT, like when he was on NXT battling Neville for the NXT belt, we saw a career rejuvenation that rejuvenate for him.
Yeah.
And then when he got back on Raw, he was doing like that. Every time Natty won, it was like he won. He was up on the turnbuckle celebrating like he did it himself. And I think it would help so many people going down to NXT, being against a bunch of guys who are hungry to get to where you are.
Yeah.
And it might actually like give them that kick they need, because a lot of guys, it just seems like sometimes they've lost like that encouragement that they need to just keep pushing forward.
It might do. Right, so just bear with me a minute. I've just lost something here. There we go. So we're basically both saying that Jeff Hardy would win.
Yep.
In the interest of what's best for business. Right, so that just leaves two matches. One straightforward, one not so straightforward. The straightforward one we'll go with first, which is the evil dog, Roman Reigns, versus Jey Uso for the Universal title. I'm just going to say it out straight. If Roman loses, that basically kills all his momentum. I don't think he will lose the title because they kind of see him as filling the Brock Lesnar role, and I have actually heard this as such. Not 100%, but I trust the source I've heard it from. They want Roman to be this sort of Brock Lesnar type role, absolutely wreck everyone, win it very quickly. So I can see Jey Uso going down in maybe under 5 minutes, maybe even less than that. So my money's on Roman for that reason, and the fact that if you're building him up as I think, and you probably think they are, you make him lose the title now. That's it. His momentum is killed. Everything is killed. It's like going back to the drawing board on Monday night.
And we'll go over the tail of the tape here.
Yeah,
Jey Uso, multi-time tag team champion, has probably had some of the best tag feuds on SmackDown. I loved when the Usos were taking on Benjamin and Gable, that tag title reverse decision. Like, that's rarely done in wrestling. And he has shown like singles, tag team, like he can get your attention when it comes down to it. I feel in this situation though, the way the story's been told with Roman Reigns, and I called it last episode how that was going down.
He's actually caught quite a few, actually, if anyone's a first timer.
I feel like this is mostly to elevate Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And this will help Jey maybe hit the intercontinental level. But I think Roman Reigns is just going to murk him like when Brock got his hands on Cena.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just going to be a massacre.
Yeah, I was actually scrolling Twitter this afternoon. Apparently, the other Uso is meant to be coming back at the beginning of next year, so say Royal Rumble. So if that is true, not saying it is, I'm just saying if it's true, because we literally don't speculate. We just take what we hear and analyze from there. So if it is 3 months, 4 months, can he realistically have a decent intercontinental title reign in those 3-4 months until his brother comes back?
I think Jay could, depending how he is booked,
Hmm.
he could probably pull off getting to that next point in his career
Yeah,
because he's got a good wrestling style and his super kick is like flashy as can be.
yeah. Not to mention his
I
dad is Rikishi as well, who's a
that
former
too.
Intercontinental Champion himself.
I just feel like this is just bad timing for Jay. The story is just handwritten for Roman when it comes to because Roman used to be a lot about family
Yeah,
when they were backing him, and it was just like you can't stop us. You know, you mess with one family member, you get the big dog. But now it's a lot of this is my time. My family might have built our legacy, but I am the one that outshines them all, you could argue. Even though The Rock is there, this is just the way I think Roman's mindset is
mm,
with the things he's accomplished, and with The
yeah,
Rock being off doing Hollywood, I could see his ego being like that to the
mm,
point that if The Rock did come back, I could see him like giving The Rock hell about like leaving for Hollywood,
yeah,
coming back every now and then, and you know, in that last match, Rock lost, being like, you know, you left licking your wounds, and now you just come back to basically be a commercial, and that Roman could argue that this is my time and we don't need you.
yeah. I mean,
So I
yeah, carry on. I have actually
so
got something to add to that as well, but carry on, mate.
so with Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns' corner, Paul Heyman, anytime he's in someone's corner besides Cesaro, just because of bad timing, he has elevated them to that next level. And I feel that, and I hate that I gotta count Jay out like this because I love the Usos as a team. But Jay's gotta come back with a segment like big time in order to build himself off, like
Yeah,
rock the war paint again, get some new gear, like get really serious, bust out a whole new move to get everyone's attention. But Roman Reigns has been built up as the tank for so many years. He's over with the crowd this time. Like he's gotten past whatever stigma kept him
yeah,
from being what he is. So this is just hand tailored to Roman Reigns smashing Jay with that Superman punch, putting him away with that spear, and then just like I think he should make Jay tap out instead of just pinning him. I think he should bust a new submission tonight and really grind home like that family, friends, opponents, you're all the same to me, and
yeah.
him just like put Jay out of his misery type thing.
I was actually going to say about Dwayne and Roman. I actually had a look at Twitter, and apparently they are both for a match at WrestleMania one year. The only problem, as usual, is Dwayne's schedule, which is always going to be a problem because he's got a lot coming out. He'll have a follow up to Hobbs and Shaw. He's got Black Adam coming soon, so it's a case of they will wrestle. It's just a case of we don't know when, because now that Dwayne's in the DCEU, he's going to be he's going to be tied up for quite a few years. I mean, as soon as they get Black Adam out of the way, apparently he's going to be in Shazam 2. So that's two movies back to back, literally. So if that was to happen, Phrase, where could we ideally see it? I'm kind of thinking not WrestleMania next year, the one after. So what would next year's be? Is it 37? Was it
It'd probably
38?
be like 37, 38.
So if it's 37 next year, just so everyone knows, we're not exactly sure. So if it's 37 next year, I would say 38, or if it's 38 next year, it'd be 39. So at least we're
I
covering
think
all the bases.
I think they could do it at like Survivor Series or SummerSlam. Like just give it
SummerSlam
like
would be
that,
a nice bet.
give them like that blockbuster feel, you know, just to play on the whole, you know,
Yeah,
Rock being a movie star joke,
yeah,
and then have Roman crashing like into the movie sets, like
yeah,
like build a mock set of the Rock like doing his movies, and have Roman breaking in and the treat it how Adam Cole treated it with what was it, Pat McAfee,
yeah.
how
Pat
like
McAfee. Yeah,
how we didn't know it was like a work. Like go back to those days, treat it like this is legit family heat arguments, have them show up at like events the Rock's at, like security pulling them apart, like really build this up as something much huger because wrestling has always benefited from that kind of stuff. Like when Cena and Federline went at it, and everybody thought like this was a legit thing, or more like Mike Tyson when he showed up and joined DX. Like treat this as if the UFC had Conor McGregor doing his like shenanigans, basically. Really draw in from casual viewers to the hardcore viewers,
Yeah.
and give us this real story of when a championship divides a family.
To be fair, we've kind of had that, haven't we, with the Hearts, because Brett was always always the better one, the WWE champion. Owen never was, and they basically went to war for how many years was it? It wasn't just like one; it was actually quite a few, wasn't it?
It's been a couple, but Owen never managed to get the best of Brett for the
Yeah.
main.
So you
But
could,
in Rock, I think it's a completely different beast because of how wrestling has evolved since then. And it's like it's basically powerhouse versus the most electrifying man in history.
yeah,
And this could definitely be what, and I think because of the legacy both men have right now, and each of the family members being part of the WB, this really could be the deciding factor of who is the greatest wrestler in our entire family. And I
yeah.
feel like with all the proper build up
Mm.
and pulling like every trick out of the hat, they could turn this into probably The Rock's best storyline.
Would it be his last one as well?
If it was me, I think this would be my last one
Mm.
because
He's getting
there's
on.
only so much The Rock can come back and do. I would love to see. Well, I would have loved to have seen The Rock versus Undertaker at WrestleMania when both men were in their heyday
Yeah,
for the title. Like that would have been huge. But there's not many things The Rock has left to do in the WWE, and I mean that in a good way. Like The Rock is one of those guys. He's come back like enough, and he spaced it out that you're not tired of seeing him coming to Mania.
but no offense, but were we ever tired of Dwayne? Let's be honest, we were never tired of him.
No, but some guys tend to overstay when they should, and to the point when their wrestling abilities go, it kind of just hurts their career, and I'd rather not see that for like any wrestler.
Mm.
And like with the Undertaker, the amount of surgeries and everything he's had, he stayed in top form, and
Yeah,
I think he left at the right time. After that last one with Styles, it really cemented. It just showed like the Undertaker will always be the Undertaker, and even he knew when it was time to put the hat down after that last ride.
mm. Yeah.
So
I'm saying this both as someone who cares about someone else's health and as a big Taker fan. I really hope he can come back and do anything. They can do like stuff on the WWE Network. It can be GM for a night. I really don't want him back in that ring because he's getting on. He's had that many surgeries. I'm surprised his back hasn't, or some part of his body hasn't caved in with all the surgeries he's had.
it just shows how well the Undertaker is taking care of himself after each injury.
Yeah,
Because like he's a fairly big guy still, and he's still like riding motorcycles and everything, and it
he's
just
still
shows
lifting
like
600 pounds in the gym as well. He actually did. I actually saw a video of that a couple of years ago, and someone actually videoed him weightlifting 600 pounds. I'm like, how can a guy as old as that weightlift something that heavy?
it just shows that if you
Hmm.
properly take care of your body, like you'll be fine after. And
Yeah,
I think Taker walked away the first time. Like, look at all the stuff he gave us. He battled the Fiend, took on Styles. He was giving us like really good
yeah,
storylines all the way through all the manias. If anyone deserved that final match and then leaving on their own terms, it's
yeah.
the Undertaker. I
Hmm.
feel like he could come into the NXT arena and teach people. Like there's so much knowledge from all the years that he's been wrestling that he could pass on to the next generation and
Yeah.
making like all those people take wrestling to the next level. So I think he's not done behind the scene
You haven't seen, but
sense,
he is in front of it.
but in the ring, like even when he was talking about the Sting match and everything, like if both men were in their heyday, because
Yeah,
Sting had the neck injury and everything, I think that match would have been huge, but I love that it's remained a what if
mm,
because that's the perfect way to end a career, I
yeah,
think. Where there's that one match with both men where it's like, what if these two finally went at it? And a lot of wrestlers don't get that.
definitely don't. I mean, we know Kane's retired, but I don't really think he had a decent send off. I
No,
really don't think he did. I would
I
love
would
him
have
to come
loved
back and
seeing
do it properly.
remember when Shane and Kane went at it and he kicked
Oh
him
yeah,
into like
yeah,
the flames?
yeah,
I think Kane needs a big send off like that, or even reintroduce the urn type thing. If Kane's going down in destruction and you have the Fiend, he could open the urn and like it's like he takes Kane's essence and it just
yeah.
cements the Fiend as like the next like bringer of destruction type
Mm.
thing. Because I love that Taker got that like fading into the night thing, and Kane's thing has always been like going down in a path of like destruction and flames. And I think a proper send off like that, it just tells you so much about like both the Undertaker and Kane.
So only one match left on the docket, and I think this is going to be the toughest one for me because let's face it, the rest of them have been quite easy. It is the WWE Championship match between the champion Drew McIntyre, my fellow Brit, and which one is it? Is it the Legend Killer? Is it the Viper? Which one is it? I'm not quite sure now.
It does seem like the Legend Killer. Like he's
Yeah,
growing his hair back in, he's doing the pose and everything. And the
yeah,
way the commentary goes, it does seem like he's leaning back into Legend Killer, which at this point doesn't make sense because he himself is technically a legend. So
yeah,
having Upstart possibly pick up the Legend Killer mantle, you could argue at this point Drew would be the Legend Killer with
yeah. You
the
could,
way
yeah,
he took off Brock's head and everything. You could argue that Drew is that now.
yeah. So basically, we're just saying Randy Orton. We're not going to say Legend Killer because, to be fair, I agree with you. He is sort of a legend, and him saying being Legend Killer doesn't make any sense. So we could say the Apex Predator, and that's just basically what we think. Well, I think that's best for him. I'm probably guessing that you think that as well.
Pretty much. I think the Apex Predator is the proper example of Orton's wrestling style from the way he does the rope baited
Yeah,
DDT, that punt kick, the
yeah.
RKO out of
KO.
nowhere. It just shows you how dangerous Orton is.
Right. So since it's the last one, tail of the tape, Fraser.
All right, Randy Orton, multi-champion, youngest world heavyweight champion, because Brock won the W title at like 23 and Orton won the world title at 24.
Yeah.
Randy Orton has slayed multiple legends, has had longevity in the WWE, and possibly has one of the most hard hitting styles from the RKO, the punt kick. A lot of Orton's moves look like they could be match enders.
Mm.
Randy Orton has been part of Evolution, learned from Triple H and Batista,
The
learned from
authority.
Flair. Regardless of what belt he has on the roster, like he made those belts matter. He bested Mick Foley in like Foley's best matches when he had the whole deck stacked against him. Randy Orton is what a third generation superstar.
Yeah, Purge, yeah. And not to mention he faced the Undertaker for 8 months in that really long feud that went on a bit too long. But at least when he was, what was it, 18 years ago, was it? He was literally just starting out and he hung with him every single match he had.
He was part of Braided RKO. Like there's a long list for everything Randy Orton's done.
We know what he's capable of. Throughout the decades, you and I have seen what he's capable of.
Randy Orton is possibly a once in a lifetime superstar. And I would love to see some of the old school Orton moves come back, like the Orton
Yeah.
of Driver, that old school drop kick where he catches you right on the chin, that move where he like puts his leg behind your back, flips behind you,
Yeah.
and then does like that back suplex. I would love to see some of those come back.
But I wonder if is sort of safeguarding his health because he might not be able to do them anymore. I mean, it's easy enough to assume because as one gets older, they can't do certain moves. I mean, Taker hasn't really done the last ride in what years? I can't remember the last time he actually did it. So I wonder if that's why Randy can't do majority of them because he's saving his health.
I think it's like what Edge has said, less is more.
Yeah,
Like take Cena. Cena pops out like a new move every now and then. Like when he did the drop kick, got that huge pop. I think Orton's just saving the good stuff for like the
yeah,
right feud. Now we go to Drew. Drew Galloway aka Drew McIntyre,
McIntyre, yeah.
has had the long road. He was the chosen one. We had the Intercontinental title, the tag titles. He went away from the WWE for a while, picked up the NXT title, Impact World title, the Evolve Championship, came back, had kind of like that Shawn Diesel build up with Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
Did that slow grind to get back to where he is. Drew McIntyre is at the top of his game, possibly one of the best Scottish wrestlers around.
If not the best British wrestler around. With all due respect to Magnus, or aka Nick Aldis, but I actually think Drew is better than him. I should point out, I do actually like Nick Aldis as a wrestler. But if you look at them in terms of where they've been, who they fought, I would actually say Drew actually has it over Nick at that point.
Right now, I don't feel like Drew is outmatched here. Usually going into a pay-per-view, Orton usually has the person completely on the ropes,
I agree.
especially the last couple of years. But right now, I feel like Drew has the best chance of dethroning Randy Orton because Drew came back from the hospital and just went straight in the knocking Orton's teeth in.
Three
And I
times.
3 times, and I think that's refreshing because usually like the good guy's on the ropes constantly
Yeah.
when Orton comes in. But here the match could go either way. Drew isn't going to do anything sneaky. Like he's straight up just going to kick you in the face and keep hitting you until you go down. Orton's going to exploit you. Like he's going to look for any opening to take you out, even like hooking onto your tights.
Yeah.
So this is hard because both men have looked strong constantly going into this. And Randy Orton has that factor of any time he could end that match. And Drew McIntyre has like as soon as you're hit with the Claymore, like it's over. But with all this resurgence of Drew McIntyre and everything, like he took out the Big Show, in his first title defense?
Something like that, yeah. He's actually took out quite a few.
And Drew has just continued to do that. Like he stood ground with everyone. He's looked you dead in the eyes and told you, like, before the night's over, you're gonna eat that Claymore. And he has backed it. And a lot of champions have not been able to do that over and over again. And I think if Drew McIntyre walks out with the belt tonight, it just proves that McIntyre is ready to carry the company.
All right. What happens if Orton doesn't walk out with a belt? Does that hurt him? Or is it a case of, right, we needed a number one contender. We just need him to do this, that, and the other. We'll put him on the back burner until we need him again.
I don't think it hurts Randy Orton. Randy Orton is one of those superstars where he's practically won everything. You could put him anywhere on the card of anyone. He'll give you that great match. Randy always benefited from being the chaser, like how Jon Moxley benefited a lot.
Yeah.
From chase, like being the guy on the hunt trying to get the gold. And when Orton is on that level, he is so much more entertaining because it just seems like there's a bit of like a gold lust of getting it. Like you have his attention more. Like there's nothing else between you, him, and that belt. So I always found Orton more entertaining in that way. So I think Randy Orton would not be hurt by this. I would like to see him maybe get like King of the Ring, pick up a few more belts of the United States title, possibly go down and in NXT and just like attacking the new generation, like making them prove their worth of being here.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Right. I personally don't think there's a loser here. There's just winners, because if Drew wins, it's just going to signify what. To be fair, I've actually known this since he's had WrestleMania, and I've been saying this repeatedly. They were going to take the belt off him at SummerSlam, but I did say, I think it was SummerSlam, but I did say at the time, if you take the belt off him, how are you going to know what sort of champion he is without a live audience? Now, we've had that audience, and he's actually responded quite well. I think the audience has responded quite well. So the dilemma I have, it's not so much with Drew, not with Randy, it's with the higher ups. They've seen what he can do with a live audience. Now, is that enough, or do they simply say we'll put the belt on Orton just in case? People might think I'm being a bit one-sided here because Drew's from Scotland and I'm from England, and I must admit it does sort of go into it a little bit, but not much, because I have liked Drew for many years. He's come back, he's proved himself, he's had his opportunity, he's took it. I personally think he should probably have it until, say, a month before the Rumble and see what happens. If Orton loses it, it's no big deal. Like you said, he's won just about everything in the company. It wouldn't hurt him. He's just basically stepped up because there's no one else really to challenge McIntyre. So I would like to see one or either both of them win. So to me, I'm not really bothered who wins, but personally, I think Drew should win it. However, I believe there to be a little problem called Keith Lee.
That is true. Keith Lee could show up at any time.
Yeah.
And possibly mess this matchup. But also, I feel like Orton is a Grand Slam champion. Like, he's won everything. And if you look back on some of his unfinished business, didn't he wrestle like Bobby Lashley back in 2007, Orton?
I think he's wrestled everyone in the company, to be honest.
I feel like, and then he took on Lashley for the WWE title back in, what was it, August 10th, 2020 at Money in the Bank. I honestly feel like Orton should be going into the US title situation a lot, because I think that division also needs more legit champions that continue building it up, because Randy Orton has done it all. And I don't think you can hurt Orton's career at all unless someone comes in and somehow like Russell circles around him, like take Ricochet, like doing backflips all around the ring, like spinning around him. Then like there's nothing you can really do to like phase Orton, because like he'll get the microphone, and if you're gonna do that, he's just gonna slaughter you on the mic, and then he's just gonna drop you. Randy,
carry on.
So I think Orton has a lot more people to work with besides Drew that he has unfinished business with. Like, even with Lashley, I feel like they barely top that. Shelton Benjamin and him could just rip down the house given the proper match conditions.
Just interrupting me. I would actually like to see him and Cedric Alexander go at it.
That would be good. That would be a really good match.
And I just mentioned that because Cedric Alexander is a high flyer, as everyone knows. So, and I actually remember, you obviously, you know this, and you remember this, but his RKO on Evan Bourne was absolutely one of the best moves I've ever seen him do. I would actually like to see him go against more high flyers, simply because of turning something into an RKO. I mean, like Seth Rollins when he tried to stomp him once. I think it was which one was it? I think it was Tribute to the Troops or something like that, or was it SummerSlam? It was one or the other, wasn't it?
It was probably one or the other. I'm not entirely sure.
But yeah, he turned a stomp into an RKO. That is what I love about Randy. You can take any sort of move, and he will just turn it into a finisher. I mean, we do E-Fed, and I used to write E-Fed matches a lot. I don't know if he's actually been done or not, but I actually had a chokeslam turned into an RKO before, which is feasible.
If you had the perfect timing, you can pretty much pull off most moves. Like Ronda Rousey was able to do like that top rope armbar and stuff.
Yeah, so I actually think, I don't think there's a winner here or a loser. If Drew wins, that's fair enough. He's in the title run. Crowd love him. If Orton loses, it's no biggie. He's done it all. He'll just say move into I'll say the lower upper card and just basically try and build some guys up. Maybe even, like I said, have a few with Hurt Business when they're not fighting Retribution. He might even join in the Retribution fight, to be honest.
They also need to get the more superstars built up, because like even SmackDown ratings, I think, are starting to decline a bit. This is the time to build up a lot of new stars and new faces to really get the fans excited again. Because we're like in a golden era of wrestling right now with so many companies. And we need someone in each company now to like step up and be that face. And I think Drew McIntyre is that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a case of will the higher ups want to do that? I mean, don't get me wrong. Anyone who knows anything about nineties Monday Night Wars knows for a fact that WWE was losing everyone, and they had to build stars up, otherwise they were going to go out of business. I mean, look what came out of that. Taker was literally the golden mainstay, if you like. Hunter came up. Triple H, not Triple H. Rock came up. I would say Chris Jericho, but he was part of WCW. But yeah, it was basically kind of like that lot. I mean, Mankind came up as well, you could say. So I personally think what Vince should do is, like you said, start building up more before Raw and SmackDown become to the point where nobody wants to watch it, and therefore they lose Fox and USA, which is a lot of money. And that's money they can't really afford to lose.
That is pretty much true. And with the way the wrestling has gotten more mainstream over time, that there's casual and hardcore fans, this will be the best time ever to push guys who haven't gotten to really take themselves to that next level.
But it's September, so what we need to do is just see what we're going to do over the next couple of months, because we are in the last third of the year, aren't we? Near enough.
I honestly think either a King of the Ring or a WB draft could really get everyone hyped again, change up the landscape.
I think there is a draft coming. I'm just not sure when it is. I think it's supposed to be in the next few months. But I think they seriously need to shake up the roster a lot. Even if you have to take some NXT stars over, that's still something. I mean, Ciampa's ready, Gargano's ready.
Adam Cole's ready.
The Undisputed Era is absolutely ready. Well, we could say a few others, but we know where they're going to be or where they actually are. I think Io Shirai, she loses the NXT title in the next couple of months, she's ready. There's a lot in NXT that are ready to come up. And just like we've already said about Sami Zayn, there's a lot that need going to NXT to rejuvenate their careers.
I think the problem is they have more talent than what they know what to do with. And I feel like all the women wrestlers are ready for their own show.
I mean, we know how good Ricochet is. We've both been impressed by Ricochet, but he's coming to nothing. So yeah, I do agree with you on that point. So, just to recap, because we have gone round a lot, I think, to be fair, like I said, I'm not bothered who wins because a win or a loss won't either really hurt either of them. But if Orton wins, that might be what's best for business. Say with Drew winning, that would be best for business. So I think if Drew wins, that's probably what's best for business, and Randy can try and build some more stars up, maybe in the United States card. So what's your opinion?
I think now of Clash of Champions, this is a perfect changing of the guard moment. There's a bunch of new names practically on the card, a lot of new teams, a lot of single wrestlers who right now can really use the wins and bringing new things to the table when it comes to storylines, when it comes to like what being an in-ring wrestler is right now. We have to keep changing the game, because if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, then people are going to get tired of it. And that's kind of what's been happening up until finally the wrestling wars started with all the companies, because now it's competition brings out the best in people.
Einstein, I think it was Einstein, said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. I'm pretty sure Vince McMahon has not heard that saying, because if he did, he would not be doing everything he's doing.
Vince does have some really good storylines. Like when you look at the Attitude Era.
Yep.
When you look at how he's put over other stars, like getting in the ring and taking beatings and stuff, and Vince only puts the belt on himself when he knows like when he drops it, it will make a mega star.
Right. So I think we've pretty much summed everything up, haven't we?
That we have.
Right, so it is Sunday now. So by the time, because we're going to do a review show tomorrow night of what actually happens at Clash of Champions and an update on Nikki Cross as well, if she has been removed. So in either case, from my co-host and me, Dino, we wish you good night. And if you're watching Clash of Champions, we hope you make predictions and you'll share it with us on our socials on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So, laters.
Have a good night.